Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to Lazio Lounge. Lazio sign Ibrahimovic. But no, it's not Zlatan Ibrahimovic, right, Alasdair? It's another Ibrahimovic. Arion, I think I pronounced it correctly. Ibrahimovic. Youngster coming from Bayern Munich. You said we needed a winger, Alasdair. And now I guess you're happy, right? We needed badly a winger. And here is Arion Ibrahimovic. Not Zlatan, but still Ibrahimovic.
The fakest of fake news, Vittorio. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? I was just saying to you before we came on, it's like Iglitare's ghost is still haunting the corridors of Formello. This obsession with signing wingers continues. And look, he's young, he's promising, he's been in Serie A before, he might be great, but why have we signed a winger again? It is the one part of this team that we're kind of well stocked in. I mean, granted, there's a bit of an injury crisis at the moment, but normally we have, 6, 7 options to play in attack. And the midfield is desperately low. The defense is threadbare. I mean, it's just, we shouldn't be surprised, apart from the fact that we've actually signed anyone in January, I suppose.
Yeah, I said, I mean, we sign a player, we should be happy anyway. But I don't know, are you more disappointed how fast this operation lasts? I mean, in 24 hours, we closed the deal and he's already in Rome. For Fazzini, that was the player we were linked from end of December. We're still there waiting to know what's going to happen. And as you were mentioning, we need a midfielder. Yesterday, I was looking to the stats that is simply embarrassing, guys. Do you know how many games Matteo Guendouzi started this year in Serie A for Lazio?
All of them, isn't he?
All of them. And you know last time he's been subbed in Serie A?
Has he? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's played every minute, to be honest.
Lazio Cagliari, he's been subbed, and that was November. So after middle November, he played every single game in Serie A without getting off. And, you know, in the last 2 games, you could see that it wasn't the same old Guendouzi. But it makes sense. I mean, he didn't miss a single game. So far this season, he didn't play just in 2 games. Dinamo Kiev Lazio, that was the first game in the Europa League, and the Twente game in Netherlands. He didn't do the trip. In all the other games, Coppa Italia included, he played. I mean, this is embarrassing. And you go and sign Ibrahimovic, who, as you were mentioning, is a very interesting player, just 19 years old. He already scored in Serie A. He played for Frosinone, 400 minutes last year, something like that. He can play in different positions. He can play left wing, trequartista, right wing, etc. But it's not what we needed, right?
Well, the thing that worries me the most is that I've already been reading today kind of reports of how the club are trying to sell the idea that he can play as a mid-sala and he could be a midfielder. And I'm just thinking, oh God, that sounds like a way of saying we're not going to sign any midfielders. And granted, okay, maybe he can. Maybe he's a teenager. Maybe you can change his role. You can try and do what, Conte's been saying he'll do with Raspadori this year and turn it forward into a midfielder. But that's not going to happen quickly. We need cover in midfield now, and not a prospect who you need to develop into a midfielder. Think about how long it's taken Deli Bashiru even to be able to kind of play effectively in that role. And he arrived as someone who could already play as a midfielder. To get a 19-year-old winger and be like, okay, you're a central midfielder in Serie A now.
I mean,
and this isn't new, is it? We've been talking about this since the summer. It's not, it can't be a surprise to anyone. And the funny thing is as well that the reason this has happened is with the bloody liquidity index and all this, is that Akpa Agpro's actually gone off to Monza, which has allowed them, to fill the space financially. And Akpa Agpro's a central midfielder. So, yeah, I don't know, it's difficult.
I mean, it's easy. I told you at the beginning of the season, Patrick is going to be the replacement, right? It's easier. I mean, if you have to adapt Ibrahimovic to that position, then Patrick or Hila can fit better. But let's not forget that this signing, he's a talented player, promising player, but I doubt that he's ready to play next week. I don't think he's going to start in Verona Lazio, for example. He's a player that you need to develop, even if he still play trequartista, etc. He needs to improve. I mean, it was funny, Alasdair, because I was reading the newspaper when they announced it on Friday or Saturday, and they said, "Hey, he played in the Champions League this year. 2 minutes, really, 2 minutes." I mean, even Falbo played in the Europa League, but you're not gonna sell it. Hey, he played in the Europa League. 2 minutes. 1 minute in the Bundesliga and 2 minutes in Champions League.
Were they good minutes, though?
Yeah, of course. You know, so please don't think like he's ready. He is interesting. He's a very. I mean, when he was 16 years old, he was considered one of the top, if not the top, youngster of his age. But I mean, we have plenty of examples: Ravel Morrison, Kishna, and so on, that were promising players. Where did they finish? You know, we need a midfielder. And just to give an update, Lazio tried to sign Fazzini. We offer a loan with the buyout in 2 years' time of 10 million euros. And Empoli said, no, we want 40 at minimum. So doesn't look like it's going to happen, Fazzini. This morning they're talking about Fagioli. Juventus want 20 million euros for Fagioli. Where are we going to take them? You know, so I'm really concerned because we need to do something. Obviously, we need a midfielder. Otherwise, this season is going to end badly, really terribly, right?
That yeah, I think it's probably worth underlining that. You know, the reason I think we're both a little bit annoyed about this is because of the fact that the main problem in the team has been ignored. Not anything to do with Ibrahimovic himself, who could. He does look exciting, you know, and 19 years old, like you say, very good reputation as a youngster, very little experience as a senior player so far, but he did get a decent run for Frosinone last year, which could help, certainly should help in terms of knowing a bit about what the league's about and what the teams are likely to be that he's coming up against. And, you know, he's got every chance of getting game time as well because, as I'm sure we'll come on to discuss, Chauna and Isaacson aren't exactly lighting things up this season. So having an option who can put pressure on their positions, even though I know he's someone who plays more on the left, but I don't see why he couldn't put pressure on that position too. So I think that's fine. That's great. In any other circumstances, I'd be just purely delighted. Lazio have gone into the market in January and managed to find a deal for a really promising young player, even though Bayern's got the option to buy him back if he turns out to be good. But yeah, it's just this problem with the midfield. I mean, there's still, I mean, more than half of the month left. But as you were saying last week, it's not really about when the deadline is. It's about the fact that January is full of games. We need help now. You know, Guendouzi has been superhuman. On top of all the games you just listed, he's been playing for France. He's been back in the France team. So the international break's not been a time for him to, you know, put his feet up and relax. And now we're going into this phase of the season, Europa League knockout stages, international break in March, Cup Italia quarter-final coming up. It's non-stop, absolutely non-stop. And I don't know how Ravella and Guendouzi have done it up until now, but they need help. They really do.
Not only Alasdair, but we're going to talk about Lazio Como, right? In Lazio Como, we didn't have that many options, right? We had a lot of players injured, and still Baroni made 3 subs, and Guendouzi and Rovella stayed on the pitch for all the game. And we had Castrovilli on the bench, who's been warming up for what? All the game long? Even Toma Basic warmed up. Simply Baroni doesn't trust them. Simply Baroni thinks they're not able to play. Well, Castrovilli probably is not able to play. Maybe Basic need a little time to recover. But this tells you that even with Basic back, even with Castrovilli, he's not giving them an opportunity. So really need someone there to come in and give an option. Just to give a little bit more context, last week Rovella didn't train all, I think Wednesday, because he's playing so much. He needs to rest during the week, right? And again, in the games, we can talk about the performance of Rovella Guendouzi. They didn't shine in the last game. They're making some mistakes. I mean, Guendouzi missed an opportunity in the second half against Como that was incredible. But he's tired, more mentally, I think, than physically, right? It's not easy to play every single game 95 minutes. So this is a huge problem without forgetting that Lazar is injured, Pedro is injured, Vecino is out, Chauna is going to be disqualified. We are missing a lot of pieces. And this is the moment where this is going to be the last week where we're going to play one game a week. Next week is going to Europe League coming back. We have Fiorentina, etc., etc. We need replacements.
Vecino's kind of a key part, though, isn't he? Because it's easy to almost forget about him because he's been so, he's really not been available very much this season. But there you've got a very versatile, experienced midfielder who would be so helpful for exactly this. I mean, I don't think he's enough on his own, and I think while he's been out, Deli Bashiru has done his best, to be honest, to be the guy who can alternate slightly, but we know it's not the same. One of the questions we repeatedly get asked is why Baroni is not looking to the Primavera for options. I just think it's throwing someone into central midfield in Serie A with no experience it's a big risk. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I'm not sure there really are many people knocking on the door to be getting that kind of game time anyway. I mean, maybe on the bench you could see some guys getting a bit of time, but we've not really had that many games recently where you would be in a position to throw on youngsters because, the derby, the 6-0 against Inter, the Lecce game we won in the last minute, the Como game was in the balance to the end. I mean, none of these games are opportunities where you're cruising and you feel confident enough to take a gamble.
Well, but I mean, I think in the Como game, he could have give some time to someone. We didn't have it even on the bench. That's the problem. It's not that, hey, I don't think you're ready. He didn't even call them. Let's not forget, this summer, we signed Christos Munoz from Barcelona. And you remember this summer, he's going to be playing between the first squad and the Primavera. He's never been called for the Prima Squadra yet. And he's not 17 years or 16. He's older than Ibrahimovic and still haven't been called. So, and he's a trequartista. And Friday we didn't have any attacking option on the bench Friday because the only one was Nosling, but Baroni cleared that he wasn't fit to play. So, it was the right opportunity to give him a chance. Same thing with Bordon, that it's what's Patrick in my mind, right? He was a central defender who been moved to midfielder. He's playing well. He's been called from the Venezuela national team. No, I think he's Brazilian national team. So he's someone that should be having at least the opportunity sometime to play with the first team.
At what, under 20s or something?
Yes. Well, obviously. Otherwise, he would have been in the Primavera, right?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. We have Mbappé, but he's playing with the Primavera, guys, because otherwise...
Yeah, he's not a winger, so he can stay where he is. Yeah, no, I get that. I get all that. I think it's been so hard for Baroni to work out, to juggle this. I mean, I think it's one of the things he's done best, to be honest. I find it hard to criticize him for his selection because thus far he has been his super strength, to be honest. The way he's rotated this team between competitions, the play time he's given to various players to let them growing confidence to let them adapt to new positions, whatever it might be. And obviously, recently in the last month, the injuries have just been non-stop, and suspensions after the derby didn't help either.
No.
But the results haven't been that bad. I mean, I think people have been disappointed because the Inter 6-0 and then losing to Roma are two daggers of defeats. That those ones really hurt. One from the kind of humiliation of it, and the other one obviously from it being against Roma. But otherwise, the performance against Atalanta was good. They're unlucky not to win that match. Going to Lecce and winning is a really good result, considering especially historically how Lazio have done down there. And then Como, I think the performance was pretty poor, to be honest, but the squad was decimated. You're down to 10 men for half an hour at the end. We end up in this situation where we're playing with a midfield with Nuno Tavares in the midfield. And so, to be honest, 1-1 at the end of it wasn't the worst result. On paper, you'll always want more than that. But I think in the circumstances, thankfully, Samuel Gigot managed to take Nico Paz out of the game very early on, which probably helped. But I hope he's okay. I've not actually seen what the report on him was. But yeah, I think Baroni's still managed the situation pretty well with everything that's been thrown at him.
Can I ask you, what do you think about Delebashiru playing on the left wing? We didn't have Zaccagni, obviously. He was disqualified, but it was curious to see him playing on the left instead of playing in his original position, trequartista, and instead having Chaunada. I thought he would have played trequartista, but he was playing number 9 with a Dia behind him. Did you agree that this decision from Baroni, do you think it worked?
Kind of surprising. Yeah, it made more sense to me as well that you would have Delebashiru as a 10 with Dia in front of him and Chauna on the left wing, or Isaacson, one of the two. I guess Chauna as a striker is one of the few things that hasn't been tried so far. We've had quite a few strikers this season. And look, I don't think he performed, to be honest. We'll talk about the referee, I'm sure. I don't think he should have been sent off. But at the same time, that doesn't mean he had a good performance up until then. And what you do with him and Isaacson at the moment is a question we keep coming back to. On the bright side, Dia's goal was fantastic, and he really needed it. It's been a while since his last one, and it didn't look like it because that was a brilliantly executed finish. So that really is a big positive to come out from this game, was seeing Dia score a goal of that quality again.
Yeah, but that was pretty much the only thing he did, right? I thought his performance was below average.
Yeah, but what I mean is he's been so long since he scored a goal that for him to score a goal of that quality can hopefully help him, start doing it again more regularly. I mean, it's hard to pick many players in the team who had standout performances. Gigot maybe, standing out for all sorts of reasons.
Because he killed Nico Paz. Yeah. Do you think that, talking about Chauna, he was ready to be subbed before he got the second yellow card? That didn't help. But do you think that we signed Ibrahimovic because Isaacson and Chauna are not convincing?
Probably. I mean, why else would you go into the market for another winger if we've already got Pedro, Zaccagni, Isaacson, and Chauna there? That's, 2 players for each position, basically. You're kind of covered. And especially now, if you're trying Delebashiru there, you've got a kind of wild card option too. Yeah, I mean, the attack didn't feel to me like something that necessarily needs adding to. But I think by now, probably especially with Isaacson, they might just be thinking, what more do we need to do with this guy? Because he doesn't have the excuse anymore of not having regular game time, and he doesn't have the excuse anymore of being new to the league or new to the team. And he's just not quite delivering. You know, he's had his moments. He's had some good performances. I think he's improved his game in terms of becoming a more rounded player and helping defensively more and things like that. But yeah, I think we saw in the derby and then probably again against Como that he can be. I don't know what it is. There's certain kind of timidity to the way he plays. This kind of shyness where he's not kind of like being the guy, you know, and waiting for him to play with that confidence and swagger to him a little bit more. Like him and Zaccagni are so different on the other wings. I mean, the way Zaccagni plays, he's so full of self-belief, probably a bit too much sometimes. But he could borrow a bit of that from Zaccagni, hopefully.
Do you think Isaacsen could be the sacrifice you make to sign a midfielder? I mean, he's been linked to the team that beat the Ross County 4-1 this weekend, so that could be an option.
Has he? I didn't actually see that, really. I'd be surprised if they came and spent money on Isaacsen, to be honest. They've got there's like their position. They don't really need any more players in, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right to bring up the point that to sign, we do need to sell. And when you're looking around the squad, I think the main candidate, he might be one of the main candidates just because it's been a year and a half and they might be like, right, let's just cash in while the value's still there. But then the other one that we've come back to a few times is obviously Castrovilli, because you asked me about this the other week and I said it would feel really harsh to let him go after 6 months. But the thing is, at this point of the season, you probably do need to be a bit cutthroat. I'm slightly changing my mind on this because he's taking up a squad spot, but he's not able to contribute. And, you know, the squad spots are so valuable that you kind of need everyone who's got one to be someone you can rely on.
Yeah, the problem is with Isaacsen, you can make some money out of it, right? I think someone is going to come and offer you 15, 10, 20, 12 million euros. I think Castrovilli, nobody's going to offer you something. You have to let him go. But again, he frees you a spot in the squad, which is what Lazio need, but you're not going to make the money enough to go and sign a player. So that's the problem. But yeah, I mean, I think with Castrovilli, you have two options. Or you let him go, or otherwise you put him out of the squad because he's not playing. I mean, Friday, we didn't have that many options and we were struggling. So, you know, every manager would have made another couple of substitutions, but only didn't. And Castrovilli was warming up. This is a clear sign that he's out of the squad. So, you know, it's useless to keep him.
And even in that left midfield spot where he's come on in previous games to play out on the left, and in this game, Baroni would rather have Nuno Tavares playing in the left in midfield than Castrovilli. Obviously. Maybe it's because he didn't trust Tavares defensively, but either way, it didn't make. Well, I mean, maybe it did make sense because of what Castrovilli's contributed so far, but it is a difficult one. I mean, you can see why it's a difficult position for the club to be in, deciding who and when. Like maybe Basic, Husai being sold this month. Will we be able to find takers? I mean, this has always been a weakness for Lazio in the market. Never mind signing players, is getting rid of the ones you're not using has been really difficult in the past. And Husai's linked to Lecce. I think some Spanish teams are looking at Basic, but can they actually get that to happen in time to then make something else happen?
Well, the problem with Husai is that now that Lazar is injured, probably you're not going to sell him because you need it, right? At least till the end of December. Or at least you need to wait and know when Lazar is going to be back. Because again, this squad is short-handed. We have holes everywhere. Now we have 3 left back, right? We have Marusic, Husai, that has to step in instead of Lazzari. And we don't have that many options at the moment. So I don't know, even Basic. What do you do? Do you keep him or do you try to sell him anyway? Because you need options, right?
Your dog is not a fan of El Cid Hussein.
No.
Yeah. I mean, the frustrating thing is, I guess, everything we're talking about, we already knew. None of this is new. It's just that it's being really highlighted now. The spotlight is on these weaknesses or these the thinness in certain areas because of the unavailable players we've got. But that's always going to happen at some point. If we had a full healthy team, I think the team as it is enough to get you through to the end of the season, but it's just realistically never going to happen that you end up going a full season where you're playing in 3 competitions and you manage to keep everyone healthy the whole time. And then never mind suspensions, because Lazio are getting a lot of cards this season. I mean, it's not just post-derby. I think there's seemed to be picking up yellow cards pretty regularly anyway. So suspensions can be avoided. That was an annoying one about Friday, was losing 3 players through suspension, but I guess that's what happens after a Rome derby. Yeah, I don't know. Do you feel much confidence that they'll sort this out this month, or do you think in 2 weeks we'll be back here and we'll be in exactly the same situation?
Well, the problem is they need to find someone that you can sign on loan, because if you don't sell anybody, you don't have the money. Now, I was recalling Alasdair. Do you remember Fabiani did a press conference after the summer transfer window closed and said, hey, January is just a couple of months ahead. So if we see that we are struggling or we are not fitted, in January we're going to do something. Doesn't look like. It's half January already. And we know what we need, but it's not looking like we're going to sign them, right? So this is the problem. Everybody knew that. I mean, Castrovilli not playing is not a surprise, right? He didn't play in the last 2 years more than 5 games in Serie A. So everybody could know that he's not going to be playing. So I don't know. It's not that they are unprepared. They should have been seeing this coming a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, the spotlight's on it right now because of the unavailable players, but we knew this from the start of the season. So it should have been planned for from the start of the season. You should at least have a kind of strategy in mind of where you will look, what kind of players you're going to go for. There are various ways of doing it. I know January you don't get generally brilliant deals, but there are always ways of bulking up your squad and adding support. Because at the moment, to be honest, I don't think we're even asking for huge quality, like not asking for some blockbuster signing to come in and be a crucial player, be like a guy who's going to start every game. It's more just to have people who you can rely upon to rotate into this team and support the squad. I think that's as important as anything, because at the moment Castrovilli can't do that, or Baroni thinks he can't do that. So that this is the problem you're left with, is that we clearly can't rely on Vecino's fitness to be the guy who can do that. We can't rely on Castrovilli's 4 more fitness to be the guy to do that. And Deli-Bashiru, we can rely on sometimes, but not always, because he's someone who's being, I think, he's been used in like 4 or 5 different positions this season, and he doesn't necessarily have one that's nailed down. So he's not an obvious central midfield backup. So I don't know what you do, because even your idea of using Patrick or Gila as a holding midfielder, that's problematic because we don't have enough centre backs to really allow that to happen. If you've only got 4 centre backs, you can't be like, oh, let's retrain Patrick as a midfielder, because you're going to probably need Patrick in defence at some point in that game.
Yeah, without forgetting that Patrick is injured, so he's not going to be able to play. So that's another problem. We have so many injured players, but it's obvious, right? If they play so much, they're going to get injured a lot. So, look, we said it from the beginning of the season that this year was going to be very complicated. we've been lucky, and Baroni has been good enough to start very well the season, better than we expected. But at the end, you're gonna pay for your decision, etc. And that's what's happening now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has been a really good start to the season, way better than expected. But we have to be realistic in saying that that's largely also thanks to the fact that some of the teams around us have massively underperformed so far. Thankfully, that they're still doing that, and we got away with this Como draw because Roma drew with Bologna, so they both dropped points. Juventus draw yet again, and Milan as well. And then we'll obviously see how Fiorentina do tonight. But otherwise, all the teams in that kind of chasing pack are struggling in their own ways. And I don't know, we'll see how Milan do under Conceição. I'd expect an improvement there because they've been dreadful under Fonseca. Juve, who knows, but it seems like they might be ready to invest this month to try and sort out areas of their squad.
This is the biggest problem.
Expect teams like that to continue the second half of the season. We just cannot rely on them being as bad second half as they have been in the first.
Yeah, even because Alasdair, we are seeing it, right? Fiorentina already signed 2 players, and Foloruscio has been heavily linked with Lazio this summer, right? It's disappointing to see one of our competitor getting the players we wanted, because even Valentini, the Argentinian defender, was linked with Lazio this summer. They're spending money. They're improving. Juventus, they will probably signing players. I mean, they're close to Casta, if I'm not wrong. They're looking for other players. I mean, Milan has been linked with Rashford. You know, they're all improving except us. I mean, I wish Ibrahimovic was this great player who comes and change everything. But let's be honest, I don't think it's going to happen. So what happened every January is this. The other team improves and we stay the same. So it's going to be dramatic going forward, without forgetting that we are still in the Europe League, we're still in the Coppa Italia. So we need a miracle or someone to step up. I mean, Dele Bashiru has been probably the biggest surprise so far, but he's still been inconsistent, right? Even against Como. He played well the first half, disappeared in the second half. We need someone to step up and do something. Otherwise, we need to sign players, which I'm not sure is going to happen. And most of all, I don't think we're going to sign play that's going to have a huge impact, immediate huge impact, right?
Well, I mean, Ibrahimovic could. Who knows? You know, he's the kind of player who might explode under Baroni, because Baroni is still a coach who's wanting to play very aggressive attacking football. And you know, as a wide player, as a winger under Baroni, you're going to get plenty of time on the ball. You're going to be encouraged to get into the final third as often as possible. And you're going to be in a team that's kind of creating a lot of chances or spending a lot of time pushing up the pitch. So, you know, he's going to have his chances to make an impact. And especially with Chowan and Isaacson failing to do that, it'd be interesting to see if he can seize them. And it could, you know, it could inject something into the season still. I don't think it can, obviously, for all the reasons we've just talked about, it's not going to be a signing that changes the problems in the squad. They're still there, but he can maybe inject a little bit into this attack at a time when, you know, Dia up until Friday was struggling to score goals. We've not seen a huge amount recently from the other forwards either. So, yeah, you know, I'm more than willing to be hopeful this guy can provide something.
Yeah. I like you optimistic, but yeah, I mean, as you were saying at the beginning, it's not what we needed, right? We needed someone ready, and we need a midfielder. Now, Friday, there's another important game against Verona, who's not top of the league, but it's still not an easy game for us, especially counting all the players that are struggling with injuries. We're not going to have Shaarawy because being disqualified. I don't know if Pedro is going to be back. I don't know how long Lazzari is gonna be out. So the problem is we need someone else coming up. And Alasdair, we didn't talk about that, but the last game Lazio didn't concede a goal was Napoli-Lazio, the 6th of December. It's a little bit like last season, right? We are not able to close a game with a clean sheet. And this is becoming more and more a problem, right, for our team.
Yeah, I mean, it's been disguised a bit because of the fact that we're not as reliant on clean sheets as we used to be. So, previously it was like once the goal was conceded, it was game over because the team was never going to make a comeback. So at least the team this year is still scoring plenty of goals. But yeah, we discussed this last week, is that kind of risk-reward thing, and it's trying to find the balance and get it right. A lot of the time, the frustrating thing is that individual errors are leading to goals, as well as systemic errors too. So I think Baroni's in a difficult place where he'll want to stay true to his identity, his style of play, but he has to find a way of doing both. Whether that's finding a way of these guys eliminating the errors or tweaking things slightly to make the structure a bit more dependable, a bit stronger. But he's going to want to keep being an attacking team, I'm sure.
You mentioned about the single mistake, and we talk about the wingers and the left back, right back, etc. Again, Como's goal, Marusic forget to follow his man. It's not the first time that happened. I think his contract is expiring this summer, even though there have been negotiations going through. Do you keep Adam Marusic, knowing that you have to make a lot of things there? Lazzari is not a question mark. So are you keeping Marusic, or do you think it's time to change something there as well?
Yeah, I think I'd give Marusic a new contract. He's not ancient yet. What's his age? He must be early 30s. Yeah. He's very dependable, and he's versatile enough to play on the left and on the right. 32. Yeah, I mean, a couple of years or so, for sure. I don't see the harm in that. Obviously, he's been around for a long time, so he knows the club inside out. He's proven himself to be a popular player under quite a few different coaches. So I think that tells you a lot about how he's seen as being a very kind of tactically helpful player. He's not someone who often lights the game up or anything like that, but that doesn't mean he's not an important member of the squad. So I would do. How about you?
No, I'm not sure. It's true that he scored the decisive goal against Lecce, and we got those 3 points just thanks to Marusic. But I think it depends on the salary. He's not a starter anymore, and we're talking about this team growing older, and keeping maybe renewing for 2 years a 32 years old player is not the right move for this team, especially looking how we're moving, right? Chauna, Dylan Bashir, all youngsters. So I would move and maybe sign a younger player. I think, obviously, we're not in the Eredivisie where you can win a title with only under 22 players. You need an experienced player, and you need a mix. But not sure Marusic is that type of player you need. You need a leader more than a type of Pedro type of player, who is someone we are missing massively in these last games, right? I think with Pedro on the pitch, things that would have gone different. But I don't know how long he will be out. I'm not sure. I think, to be honest, I would sell even Lazzari. He's injury prone in the last couple of years. He's been a lot off the pitch due to injuries rather than a tactical decision. So I think you need to change something. I guess you would keep Gigot, right? You love him, but our defense is growing old. You have Marusic over 32, Lazzari, Romagnoli. So maybe you have to rejuvenate Patrick as well, our defense too.
Yeah, it's true. The defense is getting a bit old. I think generally the squad age they've managed to bring down, but the defense. Yeah, I think, Nuno Tavares was obviously a great addition and a young player. Well, young by Italian standards. So that's helped spark a bit of that into there. I don't know. I just think Maric, you shouldn't underestimate the kind of that experience, and obviously that reaches a certain point. But I think as a squad player, he is useful. Not necessarily as the guy who, going forward, you want to be starting every week, but as a member of the squad, I think he can still play a big part. But we've got quite a while still until we need to think about who's leaving in the summer. I think more pressingly is what the hell is happening this month.
Yeah. And we have Verona Lazio. That's a very important game, because it's true that we are still in the top 4, but this is due because a lot of other teams have to catch up. They have a lot of games to play. This week, Inter, Atalanta, Milan, they're all playing, right? They have game of hand that they have to recover. So the Champions League dream is going to be very complicated, especially if you don't sign anybody. So we need to win against Verona. It's not easy. Let's not forget that the other team of Rome lost against them. So we have to see who's going to be able to play that game. So it's going to be a very difficult game for this type of Lazio. I mean, 2 months ago, I would be more optimistic. But now, seeing the condition, the performance of our team, I'm a little bit concerned.
Yeah, and they've got a little better recently, Verona. Zanetti, I'm amazed he's still in the job, but he managed to survive losing 4-1 at home to Empoli somehow. And since then, they have improved their form a bit, started picking up a few decent results. I think they've got a few interesting players in that squad as well. Again, it's the kind of game you have to be going and winning. And to be honest, it's the kind of game Baroni has done pretty well so far at getting this team, to stay focused and go and get results in matches like this on the whole. And yeah, it's really important because I think you do this period's been tricky, but there is an opportunity to kind of draw a line under it and now say, okay, we're through that really difficult run of fixtures, with the Napoli and into Inter, Atalanta, Roma, all these games in a row. We're starting to get players back again from suspension, from injury, hopefully. So let's draw a line under this and kind of set our sights and going forward. And I think you do need a win in Verona to kind of feel like you send that message properly and that you're able to believe in that.
Yeah, I agree. Let's hope. We're going to miss Chauna on Sunday, but I don't think he's going to start. He was going to start after the performance he had on Friday. Thanks, Alasdair, for joining me. Thanks, everybody, for listening. A big thanks to our Patreon. Remember, you can support us at patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. We have new deals coming on for you, our patrons. So keep on touch. And we'll be back after Verona Lazio, hopefully talking about 3 points. Thanks, Alasdair.
Cheers.